My dreams are nightmares. How can I sleep? You got the gun against me.
What's going on, everybody? King of Dragons 5000 here, coming at you with another figure review. Today we'll be having a look at the Mattel WWE Elite Collection 75 Mandy Rose. And so here we have Mandy Rose posing out of the packaging. Before we take a look at the figure, let's actually run through her accessories really fast. Mandy Rose does come with 2 pairs of hands. We do get a pair of grip hands, and then we get a pair of style pose hands. Mandy Rose also comes with her entrance vest, which does look really nice on the figure, and it does hide some of the flaws this figure has, which we'll get into when we have a look at her details. Speaking of which, since that's all she comes with, let's actually move on to her details. And so here we have a closer look at Mandy Rose, and I think Mattel has done a fairly good job here with Mandy Rose. Now, I'm not a fan of the way her facial expression is, but it does look like Mandy Rose. Also, a thing I'm not a fan of is the way they did her hair. Would have preferred her hair being down and not in a ponytail, but she did wear her hair like this for a match or two, so it is perfectly okay. They could have at least added some paint right here to the hair tie because it's just hair color, so that's not really ideal. As far as the face goes, like I said, it's a really good likeness to Mandy Rose. I think they could have done a little bit of a better job, but for what it is, I think it does do the job well. The hair could have also had a little more color to it. It's just this blonde color that Mattel has been known to use, and even though it does look nice, I would have liked to see some more shading detail in the hair, maybe add some darker highlights just to bring out some of this detail. Which, it's perfectly okay. I do like the way the figure looks. Now, I did say that her entrance vest does hide some of the downfalls to this figure, and some of the things that this figure suffers from is proportions. They gave her really wide shoulders, and that's just because of this new torso that they're using for Mandy Rose. It is very boxy. You can see exactly how boxy it is. It doesn't have a natural curve to it. It just comes out straight up and almost straight horizontal until you get to the neck, and it does give her this really boxy look. And seeing as how she is on the smaller build, it really does make her look really boxy, especially because of how skinny her arms are, how, what's the word I'm looking for? How stumpy her legs look. So she just has this overall boxy looking proportion, and it could have been fixed if they just added some curve to this part right here under the arm. If that had curved inward just a little bit, it would solve so much issues that this figure has as far as boxiness to it. Like, even on the back, you can see, even though this is nicely painted, except for a little bit of overspray right here, she has this almost perfect rectangle shoulder, and that's not the way it's supposed to look. There's supposed to be some slight curve to it, and from the side, you're not going to notice it too bad. They did actually a really good job of making her look like a normal human being from the side. But from the front, she has this really boxy upper torso, and you can see just how slender her lower torso is, so it does draw the eye to how strange her torso is constructed. And I think I'm going to keep the vest on for the rest of eternity, because it really does bother me how nice and slim her middle torso is here, but then we get to this really wide upper torso, and I just don't like it. Now, like I said, she is using the smaller build, so this is the AJ Sasha Banks other figures of that size. I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, but she does have the really slim arms. Now, what that does is create another issue. The hands. I know Kairi Sane came with interchangeable hands, and they matched her proportions perfectly. Why couldn't they do that with Mandy Rose? Her hands are gigantic, and it's not an issue just with this figure. I know other figures that are going to have interchangeable hands with this are going to have it, but why does she have such big hands? They could have scaled her hands down just a little bit, and that would look so much better. And the alternate hands do look good, but if you look on this hand, they added this pound of flesh right here underneath the hand. Your hand doesn't have that pound of flesh, so I don't know why they sculpted it the way they did. There's just so many things that they could have done better on this figure, but they didn't, and it is throwing it off just a little bit. Now, as far as her lower torso goes, those hands are really bothering me so much. I want to change them so badly. Her lower torso, we have seen this before. It is a Kairi Sane lower torso. Really nice reuse here. You can see the studs do still match her costume, so I can see why they wanted to save parts. Now, the only problem is that they should have given Mandy Rose her own unique lower torso, and that's just because she has some physical features that are really prominent, and this figure doesn't do a good job of showing that off, unfortunately. Another issue reusing the Kairi Sane body creates, we have the tight lines from Kairi Sane's tights sculpted on her skin, and your eye is drawn to that because it looks so strange, and they should have just sculpted an entirely new lower torso for her. Same thing with the thighs. She's using these really thick AJ Lee thighs, which I've never been a fan of, but they keep using them. Knee pads do look good. They are black with gold accents, so those do look good. We go on to her shoes, and I do like that they are gold, but you can see they kind of did cut off the rose part on both sides. It's not a huge deal, but that is something to note. And then we do have pretty good white laces on her. So Mandy Rose here is a... I like what Mattel was thinking with it, but they just executed it poorly. And there's so many things they could have done better, but unfortunately this is the shot they took with Mandy Rose, and for the most part it hits, but there's still a lot of misses on it. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually get her compared to other figures you may have in your collection. Here we have Mandy Rose posed next to an Ultimate Edition's Brock Lesnar and a basic Jeff Hardy. And finally, here we have Mandy Rose posed next to an Ultimate Edition's Becky Lynch and a basic Mandy Rose. So with the comparisons out of the way, let's actually move on to her articulation. Now, Mandy Rose is sporting the new female articulation, but she does have a ball joint in the head, although it really doesn't work all too well. You can see it doesn't really provide any side-to-side movement, no up and down movement, unfortunately. We mainly only get a swivel, and that is unfortunate. No head tilt either. Arms do go out to the side. Pretty good. I love the fact that it goes past her full horizontal, does a full 360, no issue. And you can see that it just goes straight up. You can't move it any further in, unfortunately. We do have a bicep swivel, which works fine. Because it is on the thinner arm, we do have better than 90 degrees, so I do like that. We do have a swivel and hinge here at the wrist. Works no problem. We do have a really good ball joint here at the torso, so that moves around really nicely. Goes back quite a bit. Doesn't go too far forward, unfortunately. I really would like them to invest more in giving them forward momentum. She does swivel at the waist. Legs do kick forward to full 90 degrees. They kick back, go out to the side. We do have a thigh swivel. Double bend at the knee, although the knee pad will get in the way. And like I said, if you move that knee pad out of the way, you do get double jointed knees. Moving that back up, we do have rotation at the boot. We have a hinge at the ankle, and unfortunately, no rocker ankle, but that's what we've come to expect. So really do like this figure. It does have some issues that without the jacket, it is really noticeable. So with that out of the way, guys, let's get her posed for my final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up this review. And so here we have Mandy Rose posed for my final thoughts. And overall, this is a pretty good figure if you are looking for a Mandy Rose in your collection. However, she does have some issues. Without the jacket, it does create a really boxy proportion on this figure just because of how thick her thighs are, and they line up perfectly with her shoulders going straight up. Her waist is of good size, but unfortunately, the upper torso and the really wide shoulders do kind of throw off the look of this figure. Add to it, she has really big hands, and the style pose hands are probably going to be my preferred method, even though they do have that pound of flesh at the bottom of the hand that they really shouldn't have, but they do. There's so many things that Mattel could have done right with this figure, but unfortunately they did miss the mark a little bit. It's still a good figure by WWE figure standard, so I do recommend having this Mandy Rose in your collection, especially if you don't have a basic Mandy Rose, which I honestly think the Elite Mandy Rose is much better than the basic Mandy Rose. This one has more unique parts to it, and I think the face is much better on this figure. If you can find this figure in stores, I really do recommend you add Mandy Rose to your collection. I haven't seen too much of Elite 75 in stores anymore, so chances are you will have to go online for this. Thankfully, Mandy Rose is still relatively on the cheap side. You can still get her for retail or just slightly above retail. So if you are looking for Mandy Rose, online does seem to be like the only way you're going to be able to get her at this point. With that being said, guys, I'm KingofDragons 5000. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. Go check out all my other action figure reviews as well as all my other WWE videos. Hopefully you find them informative. As always, if there's a figure you would like to see me review, let me know down in the comments, and if it's in my collection, I'll definitely have a look at it. While you're at it, check out my Instagram account for new and exciting action figure photos, and as always, ring that bell to be notified every time I upload a video. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Take care, everyone.